All right, we're back. Pardon me. We're back to talk about the next phase of this game that I'm so excited about. The best idea I've ever had. So just to quickly recap of where we are, we're trying to build this game that is a game where one of you plays in the past as this emperor or as empress who's building a little city, and the rest of you are playing in the present, exploring that city and dealing with the ramifications of how the emperor did what they did and the decisions they made. And so the question I've been facing is like, where do you even start with this? Because it is my vision for it is big and broad and complex and deep. And I want the player experience to actually be fairly simple. I don't want to expose them to most of this complexity, but I do need, I mean, it's a big, hairy system that's like kind of difficult to design. And I've been working on that and figuring out like, what's my entry point? How do I get in here? The nice thing is, the way that it works in my head right now is that it's actually almost like two different games where the Emperor is doing this little city building game, and the rest of you are playing this game where you're battling and exploring and playing with all these different tools and whatever. But the Emperor's experience actually is fairly straightforward in a lot of ways. They're just trying to build this city. And I need their experience to be interesting enough that it is fun in isolation, right? So that the Emperor is still having a good time playing their little city building game while the Wanderers are doing this other thing. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of interactions between those two, but for now, I could actually have this nice little benefit of I get to kind of design the Emperor gameplay in a vacuum. And I want their experience to be like this kind of almost like they're having kind of epiphanies as they go. They're building out the city from these different regions where they pick these branching paths and they have to make these hard trade-offs between the different paths. Like if you invest heavily in military, that necessarily means you're not investing deeply into like religion or magic or one of these other branches, right? So trade-offs and kind of the city growing organically out based on the branches that you chose, but also this kind of idea that you could see these big, ambitious, exciting things on the horizon that might lead you to a unique victory condition, but you can't build them right away. You kind of have to like piece together the puzzle in a smart enough way where you can pull it off. So that's kind of the guiding light that I keep coming back to, and it's been important for me because there's a lot of ways to build this experience for them. And I've been trying to kind of figure out what is the right way to actually make this work. So I'm going to try something a little different today, and I'm actually going to show you cards that I am using. I have this like prototype board, obviously warning as always that this is not real pretty. So I have these cards. Let's imagine that I'm the emperor and I have all these different cards in my hand. And the system, the basic system that I want to pull off here is that you have to make choices, trade-offs between like basically what types of buildings you're building in which places. So there's two basic interactions. One of them is a requirement that a given building or landmark has to be built on a specific type of terrain. So this is the city in the middle of the map, and you are allowed to build these types of things on the city. And then also some cards produce a resource. And so then other cards will have to be adjacent to certain resources. These two basic rules I'm pretty happy with, and I like how they work together. So for example, if I had these cards, one of them produces intellect, it's an academy. One of them produces solidarity, which works well for like bigger teams. They help you help your teammates. There's a few slots available in the city, but you can't do everything, right? You have to choose between what kind of basic resources you're going to produce. But then what's cool is, let's say that I chose the assembly. And then maybe up here in this corner, I pick a military thing to build in the mines. This is a blacksmith. So this one maybe produces weapons. The assembly gives me some cool cards. It gives the wanderers some cool cards that allow them to work together. Later on, you get this card, the barracks, which requires that you are adjacent to solidarity and military. You could place this in a space that touches both of those, and that gives you cool cards that help you do attack cards like that are benefiting you for being with your teammates or something like that, right? So you can conceptually tie these things together, and the combinations of these things are what is so fun. So like similarly, if you had, this is not even where these cards would go, but if you had like this, which is like a wood thing that you would build bow and arrow with, and you had a magic card, the there's a space between them where you could actually like place now like magic bows. And so like super interesting because you can like tie together these different effects to build these specialized landmarks that give you really cool, unique combination of cards. Okay, so that's like the basic idea. The problem is the question that I have. These are all of the ideas for all of these combinations and all these different things. Right now, I've got like 70 cards in the game, 70 locations. And I think that it's probably going to balloon from there because I want this to be part of the depth of this is that when you finish and you see your map, I only played about 20% of the landmarks that even exist in this game. There's so much more for me to explore. I want to play again. But you can't just give all 70 of these cards to the player and just like let them draw from it. I tried prototyping different versions of that. And the issues that I was running into was that you end up giving the player all these cards that they can't play or that are just really like that they shouldn't play. And I tried to solve it initially by saying like, well, maybe you just give them like a really generous ability to cycle through those cards really fast. But that was a problem too, because then it creates a situation where it's like, well, if you're a veteran player, you know which cards are not useful to you and you can like rapidly cycle through them, which is like kind of fun, but it's like not that elegant of a solution. But if you're a new player, you're going to have to like, there's this implicit expectation that you're going to go cycle through all these cards that you don't need, but it's like, there's really no way for you to know that you don't need them. And that's an issue too. So I didn't really like this. And I was trying to figure out like, how do you meter out cards to players in a way that is interesting and gives you this sense of epiphany. And what I eventually landed on is that when you play a card, it tells you what relics you put there for the other people. It tells you what golem cards you put there to affect how the golem is going to change. But it also tells you which locations you're going to pick up and add to your deck. And so you actually start with a fairly small deck and you make a few decisions about which one of these kind of basic resources you're going to put out here. And there's these different areas, the hunting ground, the mines, the city, the woods, and the magic mountain. And you make a few decisions about what are these base resources, and your deck gets a little bit bigger, as you play this like assembly card and sort of indicate to the game like, hey, I'm going down this path of investing in solidarity. The game gives you a couple of new cards to say, here's some things that you could go build towards. Maybe we give you this barracks card to show you, hey, if you build military, this is an option for you as you have this cool combo building to kind of set on the horizon. So as you play a cool landmark, we immediately put these new cards on top of your deck. You go search the deck. It tells you what number of card to pick out. And you go add those to the top of your deck, which gives you this almost this sense of like you are this like emperor having this epiphany of like, what else we could do on top of this? I can't do it immediately. I can't play this card because I don't have the resources yet to do it, but it's a thing I can do on the horizon. So I did this and it worked so well and I was so thrilled about it. I'll show you a couple of the cool examples of where it works really well. So it works really well because you get this sense of epiphany. It gives you this sense of like ideas and concepts or branches snapping together like magnets, which is really neat. But also it leans even further into this concept of like, you play one landmark and now it's like reshaping the map, reshaping the golem, reshaping what the wanderers can do next, and also reshaping what your own deck and what your own options look like. And what I realized is that it gives you this opportunity to almost create these little puzzles. Let's say that I, did something like I invested in religion. And when I do that, I get this new card, the Golem Shrine, which requires a golem over here, but also can only be played on the Magic Mountain. I can only build this big shrine here on the Magic Mountain. So I might get some of these options to build some of the easier combos like I showed, so you can take the easier path for a quicker reward. But also I get these harder things that are going to take a few turns to develop, right? And so maybe I play a golem card over here on the hunting grounds, and that allows me to actually build a golem card here in the grass. And I'm able to, place one more religion over here. And this allows me to play the Golem Shrine over here, which unlocks this like new victory condition. It's these big moments that build towards something, and they're a little bit more complex to get to, but it's almost like a puzzle. And then later in the game, of course, you're making trade-offs of like my map is rapidly filling up. I don't have time or space to actually finish all of these puzzles, and I'm going to do something a little bit simpler instead. It accidentally created this situation for me where now I get to design these kind of one-off puzzles in order to get to these harder victory conditions. And it just really leans further into this idea of like every decision you make as the emperor has huge implications for everyone in the game, including yourself. I really, really liked it. I've been super excited about how it's playing. And so next up, I need to get into back into like tying these cards to the actual relics that they unlock. But I'm feeling really good about where we are with the emperor experience. So on to the next.